A subject I've always been keen on in my photography is image presentation. And this goes right back to my days with film, black and white prints from a darkroom. Look at how we present our food. We like it to look good, well presented, as well as taste good. Well, it's much the same with our images. Are we prepping an image to be printed? Does it need a frame? Should it have a matte effect, and if so, what colour? Maybe a block-mounted image would be better, or maybe even a borderless one. If our image is going to be digitally presented, where is it going to be seen? In a darkened room via a digital projector, maybe a camera club? On a computer or TV screen? How will the image look when it's presented on a dark background like that? It's quite possible for the edges of the image to get lost against the dark. In worst cases, it destroys our composition. Does the image need a very thin line around the outer edge? And if so, how thick does it need to be? And what colour or tone does it need to be? If we keep in mind that a frame of any type is there to support the image and not compete with it, we're not going to go too far wrong. Let's take a look at this image in Photoshop, which has been resized to 1080 pixels in height. This is to meet the rules set from most of the Camera Club competitions. So, assuming we're preparing this image for a competition, we may not have total control of how it's viewed. In a darkened room, the edges of the image can bleed into the background, as we've seen. Now we can check this with an image like this by moving our cursor into the surrounding area outside of the image, right-clicking and choosing black. Now we can see the potential problem, and a fine line around the image may create just the boundary we need. We just need to ensure that the line presents the image well, but doesn't compete with it. Probably the best way to achieve this is to first remove the lock on the layer thumbnail on the right hand side, and to do that all we have to do is just click on the lock. If we then go to the bottom of the layers palette, we'll see a little symbol that's labelled effects. We have a number of options here, but we can go straight to the stroke command. Now, as soon as we do that, we get this panel appear on screen. The stroke command is automatically ticked because we've just selected it. But in this section here, we get to choose the options we want. And the two main options are the size of the thickness of the line we're about to apply, and also the colour. In our case, we could say tone, because do we create a white line or do we create one that is grey? Well, let's take a look. Remember too that we're working on quite a low resolution image here, so the pixel value of the thickness of the line is going to be different in an image which is high resolution, would need a value much greater than 4. And even here in the example on screen, we can see that 4 pixels is probably too much for this particular image. So let's drop it right down to 1 and we'll take a look. Now, do we use white? That doesn't look too bad at all. But if we click the white, you can see the white that we're drawing from at the moment. Supposing I put my cursor sort of midway down, we can see the difference and we can wonder if we'll ever see this grey. But if I click OK, we certainly can still see the grey. In fact, we could go even darker. But of course, a lot of these settings are personal. Now in this scenario, I'm going to click OK, because the benefit of this method of creating the thin line is as long as we save this image as a Photoshop file, the line can always be adjusted from these options here. It's not permanent until we save this as a JPEG. So for example, if I open this up and I'm ready to save this for the Camera Club competition, but I'm now a little bit unsure about the thickness of the line, if I just double click the stroke here, we're straight back in and we can adjust the thickness and or the total value. Now, even viewing the image as we are here on a 27-inch monitor, we're still not seeing this image exactly as it may be seen through a digital projector in a darkened room on a big screen. So what we can do is select our zoom tool, and we can ask to see this 100%. Holding the space bar, I can click and drag, and now I get a much more accurate view of the thickness and the tone of the line around my image. And even now, we can double click the stroke and adjust it if we need to. Now here I have a higher resolution image open. Let's assume for the moment that we're preparing this to be printed. We're unlikely to want to see such a pale image as this against a black background. So what I can do is right click in the space around the edge, and on this occasion I'm going to select the custom setting, because via the select custom color I've already selected white. So right click, select the custom color, I can see the white. I can go to the layers on the right hand side, remove the lock as I did before, select the effects and also the stroke. Now we can change the colour from mid-grey that we had before to black, and I've selected right down in that bottom left corner. And the size, thickness of the line, generally we can get away with a slightly thicker line in black, but let's go back to 1, and even that, given the delicate nature of this image, doesn't look overdone or underdone, and I would think that's just about right. And of course, if we save this as a Photoshop file, come back later, we can just double click the stroke because we have the opportunity to make any changes we wish. Now there are times when I've seen colour images like this one where the author has seen the need for a delicate fine line around the outer edge, but then has been tempted to clone a colour from within the image. Sounds like a great idea, and in other scenarios it would work pretty well, but generally speaking, doesn't work so well here. I'll see you next time.